I think one of the most difficult things about any software is once you actually buy it, are you going to use it?
Yeah.
And it's really, the onus is on us as a company to make sure that we give them the tools to help them engage with the product and help them really find the vision of why they bought it in the first place.
Welcome to 5 Minutes, your quick dive into the wide-ranging world of insurance, technology, and leadership. I'm Miguel Edwards, and I'll be your guide as we explore these topics that are transforming not just the insurance industry, but the business world at large. Along with sharing observations I've made over the span of my career in insurance, technology, and operations, I'll be chatting with some of the brightest minds in business and leadership. Whether you're a seasoned executive or a rising star, an industry expert, or just curious about how technology is revolutionizing insurance, this is your perfect spot for your weekly dose of insights. This is 5 Minutes.
Scott, welcome. Thank you so much for spending some time with me here at InsurTech New York.
Absolutely. Great to be here. Appreciate
Awesome.
the time.
How have you found the conference so far? We're wrapping up day two.
Actually, it's been really great. Really enjoyed all the insightfulness. We've had a lot of great connections so far. So it's been a great event.
So, we were talking a little bit off camera before about your product, Deep Vector, and kind of some of the things that you're working on. And there's some really interesting concepts in there that I would love for you to share because the technology behind it just seems amazing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to tell you about it.
Please.
So Deep Vector, we started the company actually as Loss Scan. It was actually a product that was built for one specific reason, and that was just to kind of focus on the initial problem of extracting data from loss runs. And I found this is our second software company. So in the first software company, we also had a pinpoint obligation and focus on trying to do one specific thing. Mm-hmm. So that's where we really dialed in and said, hey, we needed to focus on just solving the problem of getting this data off. We knew that in the industry, nobody had really done this to the effect that really was accurate at the level it needed to be. And so it was a great challenge for us to kind of go after that.
Right. That's awesome. So, what would you say is the kind of the most impressive technology value proposition of what you're bringing to the table?
So accuracy.
Accuracy.
Absolutely. Yeah. We realized in the beginning, accuracy is really the most important part of extracting this data and making sure that we're presenting it back to our clients absolutely perfect. So putting in these measures to make sure that we can evaluate those documents with primarily using technology was really important. We also found that overall, most of our competitors out there, they use a lot of overseas services and human element. And that took time. And not only, you still put it kind of back into the human side. Yeah. So making sure we had technology that worked extremely well and provide those accurate results has been the biggest challenge, but also has brought us the most success.
That's awesome. Give me a kind of like an example of a use case. I'm trying to frame this of kind of what business problem am I solving?
Oh, totally. So loss runs at its core are probably the most important part of any underwriting process, and evaluation of any client. And it's not just about the financials, but it's also about the details. So is this about, an injury that took place, if it's workers' compensation around a low back injury, or whatever it may be, pinpointing what that type of injury is important to evaluate that type of risk, whether it be at a single level or as a group. A lot of carriers, for instance, they need to evaluate their entire book of business to understand where the exposures are and to determine if this is a good market they wanted to enter into based on the type of claims that they're having. And potentially, poor risks can turn into positive risks when you can understand what those problems are, because they may have those solutions in their back pocket that they can say, hey, we know what this problem is now. Right. We can see how it's happening, where it's happening.
Price for it.
All we have to do is implement this. This can be a very profitable book of business now that we understand what those problems are. So there's a ton of use cases for our product, not just from underwriting standpoint, but brokers can use it to help educate their clients, which is extremely important as well, and or even just through the process of analyzing these different opportunities for them in the future.
Got it. So as you think about this product, what does that roadmap look like? Because the technology is just changing so fast, right? Yeah. It's exponential. What do you see as kind of the next evolutions of this product as it continues to mature?
So we have a pretty long roadmap right now, what we're focused on. So the initial process was, hey, can we get this data off? Answer, yes. Can we get it accurately? Yes. Yep. So now that we have it, what do we want to do with it? Well, we talked about analytics. So that is our next version of our product, is providing these analytics behind the information. So not every carrier, not every broker has the capacity or capability of actually doing the analysis. So we've essentially built in the entire core to now provide this analysis. But most importantly, we talk about AI today, and as we go around, we see on everybody's booth, AI this, AI that. AI is great, when you use it appropriately.
Sure.
So for us, we don't use AI, for instance, on the front end to get the data out, but we're going to use it on top.
Okay.
What that means is that once we have good, clean data, we can then put AI on top of that to learn from the clean data and provide deep analysis of either a risk or a book of business. So if you can imagine, if you're a broker and you're sitting there saying, hey, I need to provide an analysis for an underwriter. I'll ask the AI agent, can you provide an analysis of this risk?
Right.
Or same thing for like a client. They want to provide that for the client. So that's where we see the evolution of our product as we go down the road to provide this AI analysis and in-depth information.
Got it. Is there a play, Scott, where you are aggregating anonymized data to kind of generate some type of proprietary scoring?
So technically we will have the capability of doing that, but we're going to do it in a way where it's respectful to our users.
Okay, got you.
What that means is that we're not just going to do that, we're going to give them the opportunity to decide if they want to participate in that.
Beautiful.
Because I think from that perspective, privacy is very important.
Yeah.
And then when we do go through that process and they say, yes, I'm willing to do that, I want to participate because I want to evaluate it, they'll either be able to say, I want to only evaluate my stuff. I don't want it to extend out to everybody else. So that will be an option for them to do that. Okay. And then on top of that, when they actually go through that process and do this aggregation, we're going to de-identify the data.
Yeah, sure.
So it's not going to come down to, a policy holder level. It's not going to come down to a broker level. It's completely anonymized.
Yes.
So
what does a typical engagement look like? I'm thinking about the combination of, what document intake looks like as from a business process. I'm thinking about actually even trying to get the business to articulate the requirements and kind of the business use cases. What is it that you guys do?
So we actually communicate a lot with our clients to figure out what their use cases are and how we can implement with their individual teams. So depending on what level of engagement they're looking at, we are flexible to make sure that we can meet those needs. Some of our clients want an API engagement and that's all they want, right? Yep. Others want individual users who have access. We have brokers who they want their producers out in the field to be able to use it individually as well. So we determine, at what level are you looking for and what's really your overall goal and accomplishment for your use case. And then we develop an engagement around that. And that's really, helps us drive not only the use for them, because I think one of the most difficult things about any software is once you actually buy it, are you going to use it? Yeah. And it's really, the onus is on us as a company to make sure that we give them the tools to help them engage with the product and help them really find the vision of why they bought it in the first place.
I got it. My last question for you, Scott, because you just touched on something that harkens to change management and that user adoption kind of quotient. That's a challenge for any implementation, right?
Massive.
How is it that you actively go after that challenge, that user adoption? And let me just expand one little bit, because part of what I think about is the knee-jerk type of interpretation that the folks, especially on the business who are involved in the process, are looking at this as disintermediation or elimination of my job. How are you getting around some of those discussions?
Yeah, so it's funny because in a sense, is it eliminating their job? It's more enhancing it, I think, and that's part of the process. Yeah. Yes, there is a potential that there is downsizing, but usually that's from overseas operations. Okay. Because a lot of the brokers and carriers are using these operations overseas to do this manual labor work, right? Yep. So we are essentially reducing that capacity and or assisting them in that process. There is still a potential for some human element that's needed to make sure that it's going from this point into the other. Most of it can be automated, but most definitely, we're not eliminating jobs. Okay. We're really giving them a tool to help educate themselves, educate their clients, make better decisions, and speed up processing. That's really what we're here about.
That makes sense.
Getting them to really take it to that next level and making sure that we're giving them those tools. That really comes with a good solid team on our side of customer service representatives who can walk them through that process. I'll be quite honest with you, we looked at any way that we could try to fulfill this process was using some other technology. And to this date, I have not been able to find a technology out there that really helps with this onboarding process.
Yeah.
I see things like Trainio, which is great for bringing on new employees into my company.
Onboarding,
But how do I really use something like that? And why doesn't somebody develop it? Maybe I will, to really help with that process.
Yeah.
And I think that's been like one of my frustrations, is the inability to have a platform that I can implement quickly to really help my clients go through that process. So we internally just have to develop it, rely on a good, strong CSR team, and make sure that they've got their processes in place.
I love it. I see the product mindset working on the fly. I love it. I love it. Scott, thank you so much for your time. This has been awesome. Hope you enjoy the rest of the conference, and will I see you back next year?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks again.
Great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining this episode of 5 Minutes. If you've enjoyed our discussion, we'd love for you to share it with anyone else you think might find it interesting. Also, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening on and hit that bell to stay on top of the game with our practical 5-minute episodes. We look forward to seeing you again next week.